It is Monday, December 8th, 2:30 p.m. Thanks everybody for coming. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We can do a quick roll call. All right. From the committee, we don't need a quorum, so it's not as important. We have John Gebhardt, Vinnie Susie from the committee, and Zeke Zaki and myself from the finance committee. And then we have Commissioner Mercier, Commissioner Bauer, Commissioner Gibbons, and Mayor Stevens. I'm sorry, I need some more coffee today. Am I missing anyone?
Also present, the town manager.
And the town manager, yes, the town manager, and we have the town finance committee, we have Kate Banaszak here. All right. All right. And if everybody has looked at the agenda, can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, wonderful. Well, thanks again, everybody. I know it's a busy time of year. What I try to do, and I sent some read ahead stuff to everybody, but what I try to do is, over the last year that I've been the committee chair, we've had a lot of discussions and last year we were late to the budget process to do a lot of things, but it became clear we needed to think about the town finances at a strategic level and take a broader view. What are our trends? What's going to happen over time? And really understand those dynamics a little bit better. So what I did with the help of Bill and Sheena and the town staff was try to look back in time at where we've been, and then also think about what our projections might be in the future with things we have coming up. And I distilled that down into a PowerPoint presentation. I still know how to use Excel after a year of retirement, so about that. So that we can just kind of have everything in one place and talk about the issues and really get it centered in our mind. So all of these agenda items are within this presentation, not necessarily in this order, but if you all are comfortable with going in that direction, we will hit everything. And if we have public comment, we can take that as we go because it is a workshop. So I don't think we have anyone right now, but if it happens, we'll be ready. Okay. So, if you can go to the first chart, which I just kind of already said, was that we want to be able to do in this workshop is look ahead and see where we may have gaps in the future, what we might have to worry about, what the risks are of maybe having revenue gaps, and then obviously what we can do about it. And my hope today is to really look at the revenue and the trends and things, and not focus so much on expenditures. Those are important too, but when we get into the FY27 budget discussion coming up and we have the department heads there, then I think that's the appropriate time to deep dive into where we might be able to save money on cost. So we're not going to ignore that and just say everything's going to go up, but I just, for now, let's take one bite of the apple at a time. So what I asked Sheena to do for us was put together a 5-year budget projection. And I should, before we get started, I will say this too. The goal of this is to look at the top level, at a strategic level, at the macro level trends information. It is not to dive down into each individual number. So this is not a perfect presentation, but this is going to show us the information at that level that we need. So understand that we can change these however we want, especially this projection, because this is just, let's do something that's reasonable as a starting point. What I said is, look, let's just look at the current revenue. Let's assume current revenue is flat. And as we go through and you see, our different revenue sources, there's a lot of things that aren't in our control that are highly variable year over year, like the transfer tax, the parking. I mean, everything really depends on how many people come to town and how many people sell their houses and how many people build. And so, what is it, so let's just for now assume it's flat. And then as far as, expenditure increases, the most important asset of our town is our people. And we need to make sure, our town runs well because we have an exceptional staff at all levels. They're working hard and working together. And we need to make sure that we can do what we need to do to retain them and keep the town running well. So, Sheena made a few nominal assumptions that are listed here. Again, when we go into expenditures at our next workshop, we can dive into that if we want to make the raises more or less, whatever. We can look at those sensitivities, and I think that's something to do. If we wanted to get complicated, we could do put some probabilities around these different things and say, okay, assume things are plus or minus, and put some distributions and do some modeling. But I think that's probably beyond what we need to do. But we know we have the police contract coming up in 28, and that's going to be, and we just don't know what that's going to be. And so if it's going to be a lot worse, if it's, what Sheena has projected here, if it's more than that or less, we just, we're going to have to be able to deal with that. The other thing I'll say too, we've talked about before, is that our salary is different. Our salaries are lower than neighboring municipalities, but then we also pay full benefits. So we've had people talk about, okay, what if we don't do benefits, and if we don't pay town benefits, well, then we're going to have to look at the salary side. So that, again, I think that's a topic to look at next time and lay all that on the table and look at how we compare and do that in strategic planning on those kinds of expenses. But for now, this is just a starting point, because what I didn't know, we all knew, okay, we might have a divergence, but what is it? Is it $20,000, $200,000 a year, $2 million a year? So, this is nominally, we're at, maybe, a couple, we could be at as bad as $200,000, $300,000 a year. But again, that also is gonna, sensitive to all these things like home sales and everything else. So that's just the background of getting started.
Can I interject something there?
Absolutely.
The shortfall, I think, is understated because of the change we made in fund balance policy. I don't think we have built into that shortfall planning for the additional need throughout the course of FY27, building in money so that at the end of FY27, we have the right balance in the rainy day fund and the unassigned fund. I think it's probably short by about $135,000, something like that. That's kind of my rough estimate.
So I put the set-asides in
Well,
there.
but we don't have, that's not a set-aside, that's really
Right.
a new set-aside.
The news, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's good. So we can add that in. So it's not better than this then. It's probably worse. But again, no, I appreciate that, Gary. Thank you. All right, if we go to the next chart. In this one, I just tried to break out our revenue expenditure trends at the top level groupings that Sheena has in the accounting system, because that's just an easy way to do it. We can drill down more, obviously, and I will do that in the next chart. But you can see, obviously, that our biggest drivers are taxes and assessments, licenses, permits, and fees. And the scary one is really the taxes and assessments, because of the big bump in there, because you can see just that high variability. So, we have to, I think, be careful how we plan on that variability. On an expenditure side, we've done a really good job keeping things kind of flat, but you can see also that as we have focused on public safety, which was a needed improvement, that's where our cost increase has come from over the last several years. So that it is what it is, but that's just this is all of it in one place.
I can jump in. So for taxes and assessment, we're looking at hotel tax, accommodations tax. Is beach tax in that
No.
number?
No.
So that's separated out, so we don't have to worry about that from an operating side. Accommodations, and assessments, I guess, are we putting parking in there?
No, that's I think licenses, permits, and fees is the second.
The
second one.
categories in the taxes and assessment is transfer tax, accommodations tax, hotel tax, the cable TV franchise, which is out of that's whoever uses cable TV, and the beach concession contract, which is a set amount.
Got it.
That classification was grouping was determined by auditors. That was not something
Yeah.
that in-house
That's
determined.
fine. No, I just want to see what, when I look at that, that's the numbers I'm thinking of. And then the licenses, permits, and fees, that's primarily parking, I guess?
It's your rental and commercial business licenses,
Dog licenses.
seasonal, daily, and hourly parking, building permits and building permit application fees, your beach fires, and your dog licenses.
Got it, okay. All right.
So this is the top level, and then the next chart, we try to do is kind of look at sort of the top, top 10, 12 drivers of this, because as you can see above, there's, a lot of stuff is sort of in the noise, very small numbers, and really where we're at the big numbers. So, not surprising, the transfer tax is the big one, and you can see that, can you move one chart, Kate? Thanks. Here we go. So you can see in FY '22, we had a huge spike there. Obviously, we don't want to plan on that spike. We haven't seen that magnitude there. So we kind of, we went through and I looked at, Sheena did the average for the last 10 years, and that's what that table is. But I also did a separate calculation, which I did not update on this, but if you look at the transfer tax without FY '21 and '22, which were really high years, then we're at 715, 500 approximately would be that average. And I think we have in our budget this year, 700,000 is what we have. So there's nothing, that sounds like it's about right, and it's probably a good planning figure to keep using.
It's good, but I've also, and it's good that you use 10 years, it's a good chunk of change. I remember being here when we first bought in '05, and when I was a commissioner 09 to 11, we actually had 0 transfer taxes at one time. I mean, yes, things fluctuate, yes, we had COVID, yes, we had other stuff. The 0 was nothing. There was nothing going on that weird year, it was just nothing. So, I mean, it all averages out eventually, like the big gigantic spike there in '22.
Right.
It all gets averaged in, but.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is when I look at it, I was like, okay, we shouldn't, we really shouldn't plan on 887 just because that happens to be the average, because that's artificially driven by, well, not artificially, but that's probably, those are 2 really big years, and it's skewed to those where
That's
we
when the
seem to have
high,
come right back down.
that's when the high was finishing out.
Yeah, right.
Iris,
Yes,
John Gephardt here. It sounds like you've taken care of it by pulling 21 and 22 out, but generally there are fluctuations among a couple of these categories, and when you have situations like this, the average is helping us for sure, but the mean dollar amount would pretty much get rid of the outliers. That's why sometimes the mean is a more preferred method than the average.
it's a good point.
Median?
Or median?
Median and means.
Median, yeah.
Median, I meant. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Median.
thank you.
Yeah, so when I look at this, Kate, if you could put John's picture right above those 2 years to block them out. That's the line right there. So, because this is 12 years, right? 2014 to 2025, so that would be 12 fiscal years. And if you take 2 of them out, take the revenue out for those 2 years and divide it, would you say it comes out to be?
I can do this really fast, because you know what,
Seven- it's like-
Excel loves to do these things. If you give me 30 seconds.
It's like 40 transactions a year and 700 grand. And that takes the outliers out of the equation. Hopefully we have some more outliers on the positive side of it.
That's right. We've had some negative outliers, so we do like the positive ones.
Yeah, and it looks like it went up last year, and it looks like we're tracking to hit the same number this year, right, Sheena? Similar?
So the median of the transfer tax is 731,655.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so if we have, if you were to set a betting line on this thing, if you were working for FanDuel, you'd say, well, yeah, you're gonna have 40 transactions and 731,000. Some people will pick the over, some will pick the under.
Yeah, and we'll be able to, I will go ahead, we can update all of this at any time that we want to. And as we go through this, if you cheated and looked ahead and read ahead, I kind of drilled down into a lot of these different things too, to look at the sensitivity, so we can get into each of them and with more data as, you know, as we get through. One thing I will say that, is that if you look at the raw numbers, like the seasonal, daily, and hourly parking, that all combined ends up being around 2 million a year. And it has come through differently between daily and hourly, and I think it's a function of how Park Mobile has just driven how people buy their passes, but the total dollar value of all those is the same. So, you know, because those averages, when I was talking, Paul was right to point out, it didn't really make a lot of sense how those changed around. But anyway,
And if you also look at those averages, I'm glad someone caught me on the median. That's what I meant, not the mean. But if you look at that, and this is something that will reappear as we talk, the lowest amount was residential rental licenses. The second lowest was commercial business licenses, and there's one that's not even there, totally missing, and that is something that we definitely want to talk about, is basically the homeowners who do not rent, and that would be basically every a homeowner or it covers, if we were to have a property tax, that would cover the folks here who are homeowners and don't rent, but aren't paying any other major fees to the town amidst getting the services. So that would be the third. That is the lowest, and those are the three lowest categories, and the data ahead will track that.
yeah, if we go to the next one, and I probably did it with too much granularity in the pie to break down these small things, but it does get at your issue. I just try to make some assumptions, to the two biggest drivers. I put home sales and home improvements together. So home improvements, by that I mean business license, building permits and building fees. And when you put that's 30% of our budget, and that's all highly variable, because that's how many people are buying stuff and how many people are doing home improvements. And those are kind of one-time things that we assume will be happening on a rolling basis. To visitors, I attributed, I'll go to my sheet with my assumptions on it. For visitors, I said, okay, they pay the accommodations tax, the hotel tax, the daily parking, the hourly parking. That's where the 2.3 million comes in. So, and that's, by far the biggest number. The transfer tax, building permits, et cetera, is 1.6. Then under, and I tried to kind of break out some of the businesses just to see if that mattered, but it's really, in non-restaurant businesses, I said, okay, the cable franchise, the beach concessions, business licenses, and that's about, 381. The restaurant's about 100 grand. Homeowners, I assume 50% of the seasonal parking, the beach fires, and the dog licenses.
Oh, all right, sure, that's fair.
Yeah, so, and I think that's about right. Then the homeowners who rent piece of the pie, that's just the rental licenses, so those people pay the homeowner amount plus that. And then the rest of the seasonal parking, beach fires, and dog licenses, I just put that sort of in a mixed category, because there's and business owners pay for parking passes for their employees. There's, visitors pay for beach fires, but I don't know if he pays for all that other stuff. So anyway, again, this is just trying to say, okay, where is all our money coming from? And we all knew where the bulk of it was, I think, instinctively, but.
Yeah, I looked at this a little different. I look at a business as anybody that's making money off of tourism here. So that would be a landlord, a hotel, a retailer, or a restaurant bar. So those four, I just did rough math. It was like 600,000. Homeowners were 258, primarily driven by just parking, right? About 2,000 permits a year, and half of them were resident or if you bought a seasonal pass, you weren't a visitor, you bought one for the whole, you were here all summer. So I'm assuming you owned a place here at that point. And then visitors were 2.3 million, and building and transfer tax was 1.6. I don't know, where would we put transfer tax? Is that a resident paying that? I guess so, but you're paying it one time over how many years you own your property too, so. Anyhow, that was just my math. If we really wanted to make that chart look a little, so we don't have the small percentages.
I'm doing it right now. I don't know where I would put the mix, this extra 50% of seasonal parking, and I don't think that, well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, see, it's not an exact science on it, but I know.
Actually, if you think about it, there would be homeowners that rent that would buy a seasonal parking pass and basically tell their renters to, leave it when they leave.
Yeah, that's what we do.
So the homeowners that rent also tend to buy those as well.
Well, as I redid the chart kind of with what Paul was suggesting, and, you end up at about 32% home sales, home improvement, 46% visitors. And then the other ones are smaller, and of course the homeowners is about 5% of the revenue. But the total businesses is like 605,000. So you got 1.5, 2.3, and 655. And then the rest is, homeowners 258, and then this other 258 is kind of peanut butter spread.
So I guess the question is, visitors foot the majority, they're the biggest slice of this pie.
Yeah.
Are we too heavy relying on that revenue? I mean, it's a popular place that people come to. I mean, it's a good problem to have. I think, and I guess when we dig into what our fees are, I mean, are we good on the parking number? Are we too high, we too low? Any of those things, not that we want to drive any revenue down, but.
But it all goes together. So, the main thing is what this says is the visitors are generating our money. So the most important thing is to make sure the visitors still come, and we don't do anything that makes people not want to come.
Right.
Because if that stops, then
If we didn't have the entertainment here, our parking revenue, I would surmise would drop significantly.
Did our parking up, down, or flat line, like Rehoboth was down $1 million this year? Even with the fees that we had to pay for above and beyond a certain amount of transactions?
They're included, correct, Sheena?
Yeah, it's roughly the same as last year.
But I mean, not just entertainment, our beaches are the main draw on why people come here. So if we don't have good lifeguards and a clean beach, which includes beach replenishment, down the road, then, you may lose that revenue from the visitors, right?
well, I think with Rehoboth too, they took away a lot of parking to the point. I think it's less about the money and more about you just can't find a place to park, and so you don't bother driving there. At least that's my empirical personal evidence.
Iris,
Yeah.
Iris, it's Vinny. The $100,000 for restaurants. Can you dig into what drivers are there? That seems light.
When we go down further, in here, I have some of that data, but there's only 30 restaurants too, so there's not like there's this huge amount, and a lot of them are really very small operations, so it's kind of hard to, anyway, we'll get there.
Okay.
So the next chart is the transfer tax trends, and again, this is just looking at how many homes we sell, because that's really the driver, and what's interesting about that is it's, we had a lot in 21, that was the Hyatt effect, 21 and 22, but really we're solidly, around 40 houses is a pretty good planning figure. And so again, you go back to where we were looking at that median number, and our 700,000 planning figure is probably a pretty good one to keep using. It's conservative, but I think I think it's very risky to be more aggressive after looking at all this. So, Okay, the next one. I try to just collect a bunch of information about the accommodations revenue. And I don't really know why the residential license up and down, I think the one down here was COVID. I don't know why 22 is so much lower, but then, we've raised fees. Maybe that's when we started catching people for Airbnb. Our accommodations tax in general has gone up. The big jump here is from when we put the hotel tax in. The number of accommodations, so the number of hotel rooms and the number of rental licenses, has been, a bit up and down. Hopefully that's stabilizing. And what I don't know is, it's hard to tell if rental licenses also go with the rental income, right? Like, just because you have a rental license doesn't mean you rent it all the time. You could be vacant. I have to buy a rental license if I'm gonna rent my house 1 week or 15 weeks. And so that I couldn't get at, but I did put in here what our fees were at least through 24. And just some other things I looked at, again, trying to just get more data. I haven't rented my house since 2020, but, and I'm on the beach block, but it was $3,600 that COVID summer before COVID hit, so the early contracts. And I asked my real estate agent, what would it be now if you were to relist it? And she said 4,900 to 5,100 would be the max weekly. So, the rental, we're worried about this 3%, if we wanted to increase that tax. Well, the rental income has gone up a lot. Maybe it's not as much, 35% may not be a good number. That's my number, but people are making more money. People are charging more for the accommodations. So I don't,
Well, the other challenge there is that according to our charter, we were locked in at 3%.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And compared to other communities that are 6 to 7% at a minimum. So there's a significant amount of revenue that's left on the table because we can't.
Right.
Until we go through a referendum.
That's right. And I think, and so just looking at, again, why I was just wondering about my house is like, what is, because people are gonna say, oh my God, I can't believe I have to pay another 3%. But, probably they're gonna pass it on anyway, but even if they're not, they've also gotten huge rental increases, so it's
Right.
probably not as painful.
And
Like,
then
if we're worried about it causing pain to a homeowner that rents, I don't think,
the state kicked in their 4.5 on top of that, so.
yeah.
So right now, I think a landlord looks at it and says, wait a second, the state just hit me for 4.5 and now you're gonna hit me for more than your 3.
But again, the benefit of looking at this over a longer planning horizon too is, it's not like we don't have to wait until we're in a crisis and say, oh my God, now we're gonna do 3%. I mean, we have the luxury of saying, could we do some step function or something else and, maybe get there perhaps.
What year did it kick?
Just so to be clear though, not only do we need a referendum, we have to change the charter also.
Correct.
So we gotta go
Yeah.
to the state assembly, so it's a very long process.
Yeah, well, and that was one of the questions that I had is, if we wanna do it, what is that planning horizon and what is the cost up front to get that? If we've got to, so we need legal help, we have a town lawyer, but we'll have some work that has to be done and we can't just say we're gonna do it next week.
Right, I think it's mostly time.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy, not easy, but you just have to plan the referendum, get it onto the ballot
Right.
in September, assuming we have an election.
Right, and so the question is,
And then get it to the state assembly. That doesn't really require a lot of legal assistance.
Unless we did it off cycle. We could always have a referendum
Right.
off cycle so that we didn't have to wait till
Yeah, I could do
September.
that, yeah.
Could have one in the spring.
But to note that, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but 60% of our homeowners rent. So there's a large portion of our town residents that are part of that would not want to see that 3% go up.
I think I saw we have 1,809 properties and 600 rental licenses, so it's a third.
yeah, I have somewhere I have the number of rental.
If we're going to do a referendum, anytime you're going to do a referendum to have people pay more money, you've got to make a case for it. That's as
Right.
important as just scheduling the referendum and going through all the stages you have to go through.
Go through the expense of it and it fails.
Yeah, number of rental licenses is about
Six.
627.
Okay, so it's 1/3, okay.
It's been 620 for the last 3 years, right about that, so.
Yeah, 622, 623.
You said 60.
I thought it was 60%, but I
So
guess
that's
I'm wrong.
only about a third.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So,
it's-
you know, we have more people that live here, either as a primary or secondary home than we do rentals. I don't even know what our high was for rentals. If you asked me 30 years ago when I first started coming here, I would say it was 100, but it wasn't quite that much.
Well, and aren't there also a lot of the rental places where they're LLCs, like who can vote? Because if you made an LLC, I think John was saying that he doesn't get to vote because he is an
Right.
LLC.
Right. We're an LLC and there's no right for an LLC to vote. And that basically because LLCs can have numbers of partners.
Corporations can be the owner of the LLC, yeah.
So, I mean, that might be an interesting thing to see is how many LLCs.
It might be worth considering, although that has to jump through all kinds of legal hoops and stuff, but whether the town would be interested in basically saying one vote per LLC.
Yeah, this was brought up a couple years ago.
not numerous times.
Yeah.
We just went through that not too long ago, yeah. And Fenwick Island apparently is being sued by the
ACLU.
ACLU
Yeah.
for allowing LLCs.
Seaford got sued.
Huh.
Fenwick's getting sued.
And then, so it's just property, and then business owners also have a vote, is that right, or no?
No.
If a business owner owns a piece of property in town or has a long-term lease in town, then they were able to vote under that lease.
So that would be interesting just to just look at that, how many, I mean,
It's possibly at that point, we could look at the 600, you're saying there's 600 rental license are to individuals or LLCs.
Right.
but the
Individuals
point
or
is-
non-individuals, really.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is true. The lodging tax would not require a referendum. It does require a charter change, but it was not imposed by referendum,
No.
but it could be changed
Could be.
if we change the charter.
And is that the hotel one?
Yes.
So the hotel tax, 3%.
But their argument always has been that they should be tied equal to what the residents are paying
Yeah.
as an additional,
Right.
that's how we got to the 3% to begin with.
I was
Well,
gonna say, you gotta make a case for anything, yeah.
And we gotta be careful of that too, is the hotels have had, well, I don't, so I was just talking to, Andrew that owns, that runs, Hotel Dewey, but he tracks a lot of data from all the other hotels, and he said his, Hotel Dewey has been up because he claims because of how he runs it, which, sounds like, but he really monitors what everybody else is doing, and pays attention to the other properties when they up and down their rates and all that kind of stuff, so he really understands that market. And he said Rehoboth is down 20% last year in hotel rentals, so I think it's probably worth talking to the Chamber of Commerce, and I have not met the new person yet, but it would be interesting to see what that is, because again, back to, we don't want people to not come for whatever we do, so.
For just information, there's 498 hotel rooms.
Yes. I have this information and I didn't somehow I didn't put it on there, but yeah, there's eight.
Why don't we capture these metrics so that we have them going forward?
I have them in this, in the Excel spreadsheet I made this from, I just didn't make charts out of them.
The on the rental side, each rental application for license would provide the number of rooms that are being rented.
Yep, we could do that too if we
So
wanted.
that would allow us apples to apples comparison between the rentals and the hotels.
Yep, so we could dig into that as well, so, oh no, there it is, the number of hotel rooms on Raleigh, so it's on that chart.
Where's
Yeah, the bottom left. I was like,
Bottom left,
I'm not
okay.
losing my mind, this one. That's the number of,
Oh, okay. here we
yeah,
go.
that's number of hotel rooms and, yeah, and so that's pretty much flattened out, so I don't think we're gonna get any more, hotel rooms at this point.
But comparing it with rental licenses it's a totally different fish.
Yeah, I was just trying to just lay the data out there and it just.
Yeah.
Just to see, do we have a trend where it's more or less, it's interesting that they track together and, you know, and they've been up and down in the same years, I think is kind of interesting.
Yes, yeah. I totally understand what you're trying to do there. It sounds very plausible.
So, and again, some of it is, it's weird that this rental license income, and I don't know how we break out sort of look at the taxes a bit differently to see, you know, have we fallen off on anything, but, because if people are renting their house for more year over year, then we should be getting more, tax year over year. So, you know, I mean, it is going up, I just don't know, you know, if we want to look at that more granularly. But it's more a matter of, do we have people cheating still?
Right. Yep. I
That's
believe.
really what that's what I worry about.
Yep. Absolutely. I believe the town has a method to be watching out for people who are renting without having paid a license.
Yeah, we have a system that has helped people remember.
That's a very nice way of saying it. Yes.
Well, that's good. All right, is there any more discussion on this accommodations? To kind of go to the next, and these are like, I didn't put, like, the revenue was on that first chart, but I was just kind of looking at what, you know, what is the trend in the number of building permits? And that's kind of flattened and dropped off, so I don't know, you know, we had a lot of people making improvements since COVID.
Well, 2023 was 440, then it was 485 and 24 and 442. It's essentially the same number.
Yeah,
So 23 and 25 were the same number.
yeah, so as long as it's not gonna start going like that.
Right.
And all the way down. And then the other thing is, you know, we have a lot more special events and then single day permits to do events. And so that's maybe an interesting thing. It's not a huge revenue driver, but there's things that we've talked about. There's a lot of people doing business on the beach now that aren't beach concessions. All the people teaching yoga at $20 a head. I mean, okay, and then the skimboard tournament, where they tie up the whole beach for 2 days, for the whole weekend, basically, 3 days.
How do you break those special versus single day, like Dewey Goes Pink, 1 day event, or is it a special event? Running of the Bull, 1 day event or a special event? Seven Sisters runs, those are obviously either 10 singles
That's
or.
it, that's the $50, and then it's $500 to expand the premises, it's that top. And single day business license is what that is, I think. I might have, I don't know that I labeled this correctly.
Into the single day, multi-day.
Yeah. Is there a difference in fees, right? Or is it still get charged per day?
I'm gonna say you and I decide to have a fun run for Paul Day.
Yeah.
Is that gonna be a single event or is that gonna be a special event?
Oh, that's it, you know what, this is single day, the single day
If it was a run, it
permits
would be-
is
it would be a
single day
10-second
building
event
permits,
fee.
I believe, so, not.
Oh, so you're saying single-day business licenses, so if I have somebody come to do something on my house for 1 day, that's not related to
I have to double check that
special
because
events?
the way it's lumped in
Kate
here.
has an answer here for us.
Yeah, single day business license, 9 times out of 10, that's like a handyman.
Right,
It's just a small job, he's in and out of town and doesn't want to pay for an entire year
Right.
license.
and see, what I didn't write down is single day business licenses, so I don't know if single day permits, is there a single day event permit?
So all your $50 ones are your single day.
Yeah.
Whether it's a race, whether it's
Okay.
a picnic on the beach at night, all those are.
So I think that's just all, I think that's all lumped in that top line, and I think that yellow line, let's disregard that
It's
because I'm
the
not.
wrong material for that chart.
Yes, I think so.
Correct.
Because I did bad, it was bad labeling on my part, forget it. But the point is, we have a whole lot of those sorts of things, and do we wanna, again, it's not a huge revenue driver, but every bit helps.
So, to use the skimboard thing for an example, they pay $50.
Yeah.
That's it. And there's no expansion of premises because they don't have premises to start with.
Right, and then the businesses that are on the beach during that, if they're giving things away, we don't require them to have a business license. But if they are selling, and I go down there and walk around, then they have to acquire a business license.
So probably from a licensing perspective, we maybe maybe there's 10 tents plus the tournament and what that's, so we're making $500 to close the beach for the day and have to clean everything up afterwards.
Well, they hire a contractor to do the trash
Mhm.
and everything. But, Dewey Beach is known for the skimboarding. It's the East Coast
Yeah.
skimboarding capital of
Right.
the world. And,
Right, so we don't want to ruin that either.
we don't, but there are a lot of businesses that are using our public beaches, both on the bay side and on the ocean side, where a lot of beach communities in Delaware do not allow. Yeah, businesses making money on our public beaches.
It's probably a good area to look for revenue with them.
So we
I
brought
mean,
it
just
up
gotta be
twice
fair.
in the 5 years that I've been here, so.
So like the summer camps that come and use the gazebo are not paying a fee, most likely.
If they put in an event application, then they are paying a $50 fee for that event. Every time somebody has one of these picnics on the beach, that's a $50 fee. They may be charging $300 for that, but the town is collecting $50.
Bill, how many businesses would you say we have on the beach?
Somewhere around 10, maybe 10 or so if you count the ones that are setting up the bonfires, not counting Dave Lyman, but all the different folks that do the bonfires, all the different picnics, everything from the workout groups to the skimboarding camps to the yoga people, somewhere around 10 at least, maybe 10 or 12.
It's just one of those things, I mean, if we charge this business something, but we don't charge this one, but you're on a beach, I mean, we need to be some balance there.
But Dave Lyman pays a lot of money for his business on the beach.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lot for his business on the beach, where these other folks are paying $50 an event.
And then are they also getting town business licenses as well?
They are,
So they are at least doing that.
yeah.
It's more a matter of is Dave Lyons mad because everybody wants to see us.
So Dave asked that nobody do anything on the ocean side between the hours of like 9:30 and 5 when he's having his concessions on the beach. And we had one business that set up and we had to tell him, hey, look, either follow the rules or you're out of doing. And since then, they have been following the rules. But Dave has said between those 2 hours, he would like not to have anybody that is serving food or drinks on the beach. Now, you still have the skimboarding camps, you have the yoga people, you have the workout people. They're still doing their things on the beach.
Yeah, but that's fair then.
Yeah, I mean, because you get into like, what would prevent having like 10 different Planet Ice companies out there selling Planet Ice and you're like,
I mean, we have a volleyball camp that's on the north end of the beach. It runs basically from May until September 1st at $300 and some, $250 a kid. And they're putting maybe, 200 kids through that camp. Now, they're a nonprofit. They do give scholarships, but that's a lot of money, about $12,000 going through that camp.
And they
That's
get
a lot.
a
They
business
pay $50
license and the
They
one.
pay just a business license and a permit fee, and that's it. Before I got here, they weren't even doing that.
But, all that being said, you're talking about 10 businesses, so even if you double what they're bringing in, that's not you know,
Yeah, I don't think it's a major revenue, we're not looking at it from a revenue
Generator.
generator here for us, but
Yeah.
just
a
trying to be
fairness.
fairness.
yeah, that's right.
Obviously, the more business, that's always been a rub. You know, you go to the beach, I mean, people think we commercialize it too much. What's too much and what's not enough and what's the balance, and so I know Dale's always struggled with it. The conversations we had with Dale Cook over the years. So anyhow, not to sidetrack the conversation, sorry.
No, it's good. And then the next thing I was trying to, the other thing we've talked about a lot is that the town is much more year-round than it used to be. When I bought my house in 2009, Woody's and Hammerheads were open. That was it. And and most things shut down by Columbus Day, maybe, and now places are open the whole time. So, and I was trying to figure out how to get information on that. I mean, I could, not that, I don't think we need to prove it really to anybody, because we all know it if we're here and have seen the changes, but I just looked at the police data and how many service calls they have between April and October when it's the off season, and you can see they've gone up. Now, that I think indicates, and since 23, I think that indicates that there's more people here in the off season, and there's more people here overall all the time too. And we talk about having full-time residents, so there is a need for that more service. Again, that's
There's a reason why the businesses are open on Thursday through Sunday, right?
right.
And you've got Woody's, Starboard Claw, Starboard Raw, Dewey Beer Company, Dewey Country Club. Post is open during the weekends, in the Lighthouse.
Yeah.
So if they weren't making money, people weren't coming, they wouldn't be open. So they are open. And I'd also like to say, the reason why you're capturing a lot more of the police calls is because we've gone to this CAD system. Before, we used to have these books, things were written down in the books. It wasn't a good way to measure the amount of police service calls. Now that it's done electronically, it's very easy to pull those calls.
So is the reason, so the lower calls in previous years isn't necessarily that there were actually low calls, it's just they weren't necessarily recorded as.
Well, I think it's both. I think there's more people in town and we're recording all the calls. I think it's both of them.
You got 2,500 calls, an increase of 2,500 calls in one fiscal year, that's gotta be a recording issue.
Yeah.
Something we're lawless,
Right.
Yeah.
out of control.
This isn't a
Oh, no,
law, this isn't a law that's.
In a weekend during the summer, and I passed this to the chief, and the chief said this is correct. On the weekend during the summer, there are a lot of calls.
Yeah, I'm
Well-
not saying it's not correct, I just think there's a recording
Yeah.
issue there.
Well, that orange line at the bottom is what it is in the off season. What we've all seen is there's a lot more different events and reasons to come town in the off season. And there's a lot of people that live here that come more often. It used to be everybody shut up their house, turned off the water, did all the, flushed everything. And now people duck in and out where they didn't used to do that. And so,
I could say, even as we're doing ride-alongs with the cops, that prior to this, when it wasn't an off, when basically it closed down from Labor Day till Mother's Day, there was nothing. You could sit in a cop car and talk for 5 hours with a cop
yeah,
and not get a call.
you wouldn't see a car all day. And I can't, I'm on Bellevue, I can't find parking on the weekends now. And this is even December when it's supposed to be tailing off. So it's a good thing. People are coming to town. We want that to happen. So,
You could almost be Mrs. Kravitz standing on an elevated platform and see which lights are on in town and count them on two hands. Now you can't. There are a lot of people all the time. And I'm on the same street you are. Yeah, if I were to park on the street during the weekend, trying to go to dinner, not happening.
Still can't do it.
And that's a good thing.
No, it is a good thing, and I think the question then is, okay, so are we, so the businesses are presumably making more money than they did before because they're open more, but then, I don't know if are our fees keeping pace with that? I don't know, so I kind of, and so if you go to the next, few ones, so we've got, this is the number of businesses and it's pretty stable. I was trying to, look, is there anything that any way we can break out the businesses of different types? There's huge numbers of them. if you look at the business licenses, the one that to me, is, you've got the small out-of-town businesses is much lower than the in-town, but when you look at who is in that is all the people that come to town and do the service work. It's a lot of contractors that come in. If you need a plumber to come in and fix something, or HVAC, or, a lot of these like distributors and stuff like that. I mean, we don't want to get to a point where people don't want to do business in the town. I can't get somebody to,
There's a
I can't fix
perception, that contractors don't want to work here because we're too expensive. So are we too high? I mean, how do we measure that? And, I don't know if that's reality or not. It's, everybody has opinions of, if you have a contractor says, I didn't want to pay that fee, that didn't mean every contractor didn't want to pay that fee.
But if you
that one
match,
didn't.
but if you match that fee to the in-town small businesses, then that's 70 grand of revenue. So that is a pretty big chunk. I think the other thing is, and again, the reason I just was kind of looking at the different kinds of things is, and I don't know how we would make a distinction, but it's one thing for people that are coming because they're getting a service call or they're doing a project, and then there's a lot of people that are coming here all the time. And there's the cleaners, the landscapers, the people that are delivering stuff, that clog up the streets, that they block roads. Do we care that they're using the streets more than somebody else? I don't know. Could and then obviously there's a lot of ones that use the bay. There's the marinas. There's all the water sports stuff. I don't know if there's anything in there to change anything by composition, but I started looking, it was really hard to figure out what was what from the names, so then I stopped. But I think if we wanted to dig into that and set some kind of, if we wanted to set something different for different types of businesses, but again, we're not talking a huge amount of money out of the licenses,
We're
200.
down to small dollars.
It's less than 10% of our overall revenue. And the next one, this is a lot of data here. These next ones that people keep saying, oh, the restaurants don't pay their share or whatever. It's okay. Let's just kind of dig into to where we are and just lay it out there. So on the right is the businesses and the seat number. As we charge a flat fee plus $12 a seat right now. And so if you look at, since COVID, we got a lot more seats and we raised the per seat fee to $12. So we've already kind of have accounted for that change. And if you look, the total number of seats is 7,500 across our restaurants. So if you were to, basically $1 a seat in raising the tax, so which is almost 10%, and that's $7,500 more. So we're not really gonna make a lot more given our current fee structure. If you want to go to the next one, Kate, also. I did say, well, if you is there something we could do? If you doubled the base fee, doubled the per seat, then you could start to get to bigger numbers. But that's also going to disproportionately impact businesses that aren't open all year, businesses that maybe are only open in the morning, that don't have a liquor license and are just selling sandwiches. So again, this is all my messy working notes of just, could we do something? Look at if any of this stuff makes a difference. Obviously, there's a few. I sorted it by by number of seats. So you can see, obviously, the bigger, there's a chunk of businesses that are really, really big, and then it drops off pretty quickly after that. And you can see kind of what are really traditional, mostly restaurants, and then ones that sort of are in the nightclub arena with music and more nightlife. But again, I don't know how you define that, and I don't know. Those business owners tend to give back a lot to the community. So again, if you doubled what they paid and then they didn't do something else, then it's. I don't know if that's necessary, because that's also what draws people to town. So if they're gonna be closed, then maybe we're not gonna get the same traffic.
Our police budget though is tied directly to these restaurants
Yes,
and the nightlife.
Yeah.
Hmm.
but
If
you
you not have those, you wouldn't have to have maybe the 6 extra police officers that we have.
but you might also not have $2 million in parking revenue because people aren't coming here. So there's a lot of interwoven things here, and I think any of these kind of changes, we need to
Yeah,
be aware of unintended consequences.
I know Rehoboth is looking at their fees coming up. And Ellen, I don't know if you've seen any of those. I was trying to find a list of that today. Well, what I did find was, because we looked at this a couple of years ago, Bill, Gary, Elizabeth, you probably remember this, but a restaurant that serves alcohol in Rehoboth pays $325 for the alcohol license packet. And then if there's consumption on premise, it's $650. So they pay $975 for a restaurant that sells alcohol in Rehoboth. And if I'm the Rusty Rudder, I'm like, you charge me $21,000 and I could have, if my Rusty Rudder was in Rehoboth, it would be $1,000. So is it too high? So I think I understand, a larger company can afford to pay more of it, but I think there needs to be a sensitivity to that as well. So I just, we'll look at both sides of that.
That's right.
Forgotten Miles not far away, and there's other real estate that people can move to.
Maybe people start going to the ale house.
So with Ale House is doing pretty good these days.
And again, I mean, any of this stuff, I'm not trying to pick on any group, I'm not picking on restaurants at all either. It was just, again, I'm trying to think about what people have said and different, to look sort of the devil's advocate point of view, but again, we're not talking a lot of, a huge amount of money if you put this in the context of, what the annual accommodations tax is, for example. Because if you took that, the accommodations tax is $576,000 or whatever was the average, I don't know what it was last year, but you could double that if you went to the 6% that other municipalities have, and that's a really very quick way to solve a lot of problems that doesn't, piss off everybody else. So we're gonna piss off people that rent their houses out, but maybe, we've got a lot of businesses in town that, that we could make them angry without getting a lot of return on that bad will, if you will.
When was the last time we adjusted business fees? It feels fairly recent.
24, I believe.
Yeah.
Was it
It was 2
24?
years.
Okay, so.
So for every
Yeah.
dollar of a seat license is $7,500 to us.
And then the base, we've got 29 restaurants, we got 30 to make the math easy, so and if you, and we're at 380, so, 30 times 400, I mean, that's not even that much money either. So,
Oh, to town manager's point, I mean, if we didn't have the 16 restaurants / bars in town and we had no rentals and we were all residents here, we wouldn't need the police force that we have.
that's right, that's right.
And so how do you balance those
Right, and
visitors
it all goes together, it's
with
a,
the cost of the police force?
You probably still would have to have the same police force. You're gonna have residents here, whether they're going to a restaurant, whether they're going to a bar, whether they're staying in their house watching Netflix, something's gonna happen at some point.
Right.
And whether you have 1 cop on duty, 2 cops on duty,
We wouldn't need the size of the out of season police force that we have. Whereas that's been the severe shift over the years. We went from 8 officers to 13 officers. I'm not saying we don't need it, I'm just saying that we need the police force we have based upon where we are right now. But it's the people that don't live here and the people that are visiting here, whether it's short term or going to hotels or going to the restaurants and the beaches, that are the reason why we need the police force here, the size of it.
well, I think when Chief came in, the reason she advocated to get more was because they were understaffed and we were paying a lot of overtime.
Yeah.
And
And it wasn't safe.
there wasn't
For them.
enough, that's right. So,
If we go back, remember the buckets we were talking about, like how much a visitor pays, et cetera. If I look at our revenues and then our expenses, I mean, our police department, that should be covered by, I would venture to say mostly a visitor. That's what causes us to have so many officers. Not that 13's a huge department, but at least gives you 2 on duty at all times, so. If we looked at that pie chart and say, all right, this revenue should be covering this revenue should be covering that. I don't know if we can dive into that maybe in our next meeting. I know it's not on our
Well,
agenda
and do that
today,
sort of
but
business over time.
yeah. Business licenses should cover what building costs are in administration.
Yep. And then, if you wanna go to the next one, Kate, this is all, to get it on one chart, I took out any of the fees that were like less than $20, or they're just like, weird things, like one time, somebody, did something, needs something copied or whatever, like, I took those little things out, but this is this is all the main things, and I don't have the fine, what the fine schedule is, but that would be another thing we could look at.
So this says $359 base and $10 per occupancy on food and beverages.
Yeah, I don't think the spreadsheet I had was updated with that, but
So-
but
so
I'm
it's
pretty sure
12
it's
now?
12, right?
I think it was 12. Well, that's worth looking at.
I thought it was 12.
Dog licenses and that covers the cost of all those nice bags we put out for everybody. So, if we look at things of like, 'cause I think the role of government is we're not here to make a profit, we're here to break even and provide service. So, these are the services we provide. This is where the money comes from to pay for those services.
Yeah, so, I mean, we can, everybody can dig into that as they want, but this is what's in the code. And then, like I said, the fines, I know last year we upped the parking ticket fine, I don't remember what else, but,
Because prior to the increase, it was cheaper to take a chance and not pay.
right, so.
Yeah.
So I think that was a good move.
Have we considered raising building permit fees? I can't remember having had any discussion about that. And what are the arguments against it? I mean, a 1-point increase in building permit fees gets you, a third of $685,000 this year.
Yeah.
Which is significant money.
And if you go to the next chart, then this is the last
And
one.
Gary, I can see us offsetting that by raising the limit. If you take it up to, for example, conversations we currently have, if you take it up to $500, and then increase, so if we're losing something on the bottom end of the building permit fees,
Yeah, but that's not trivial, but it's
But
nominal
$20,000
amount,
is
yeah.
what we're
Right.
talking about, yeah.
good, sorry, Iris.
No, I just, the last thing that I have in here is just just looking at some of the history of the fees and when we changed them to the extent that this is from last year's budget, the bottom stuff, and then the top one is this is the raw data that went into that, it's like the second or third chart that had that had the averages on it when it should have been median. But that's the raw numbers in that one, so,
So 887 should be 715.
yes, yeah.
Everything else,
Well, I can tell you, I can redo this with the median
okay.
in it, because Excel's really smart that way and does it. But yeah, if you look at the median, so it's 731, 505, 391,
731's good enough.
105, but those are the main,
Iris, maybe you can explain it to me better. I just, like I said, I like the parking stuff, but the fiscal 24-25, when it came to daily and hourly parking, the numbers really went out of whack for those 2 years.
Yeah,
Well, we changed the zoning. We allowed hourly parking throughout the town.
But I mean, we went from 352 to $1 million
but if you add
in
the
hourly
total,
parking.
Well, that's because you could park anywhere by the hour. Before that, it was restricted, right? It was-
It's easier if you add the daily and hourly together.
Right.
I mean, that did come closer together, but when I just saw the straight line items,
Yeah.
when you're going straight across.
People when the daily rate went up, even though the hourly rate went up, more people chose to pay by the hour than to pay for the day.
I think you get more turnover that way
Yeah.
as well.
and I think with Park Mobile, it just
Park
makes
Mobile.
it easy to do it.
It
and that-
is
Since you
easier.
could pay for a whole day on Park Mobile.
And I think
you
if I were to
didn't
do
pay-
this
you could buy a
again,
one-day
if we
pass.
were to do it again, we could just look
Isn't it
at,
the same
you can
price?
add parking all together.
I thought
Because
so.
if you then, like, if you look, our
Hey,
seasonal parking in
everybody's got- every
25 was
kid has
higher,
this in
and
this-
some of
in
the
their
other ones
hands.
were less. If you add all the
You
numbers
just
together,
buy
it's
4
pretty
hours of
flat.
parking, and
It's
somebody
interesting.
else
See,
buys it.
The streets next to Starboard were 4-hour parking, but people wouldn't stay for the 4 hours. It didn't matter, and we couldn't say, okay, you gotta stay. So that was the change too, because now they can come and go.
I remember when we talked about it.
I mean, it was
a
just the
better
straight
way to
line item
simplify it.
going from hourly parking from 352 to $1.4 million to 678, or excuse me, 730 to 350. Yes, they add up the same when you go top to bottom, but side to side
They
was,
just
Yeah.
chose to do it differently.
Iris, is commercial business licenses, does that cover the restaurants?
Yeah, that's everybody.
It's retailers, restaurants.
What's really interesting is if you look above it, residential rental licenses, these are folks that, get a weekly or whatever rent. They're contributing 96 thou, and then you have the business, and you have like I can't even imagine how much the Starboard makes in one night, but I can tell you it is eons more than we'll make in a season renting, and yet those business licenses are a little bit over twice amount, which is that definitely is an area that I think there's a fairness concern there.
We have a volume comparison, though. There are more residential rental licenses that can be,
Yeah, I mean,
there
you
are
got,
more residences that can rent than there are businesses to get licenses. So we've got, it's not the same across the board.
I mean, and that's the problem is unless we,
if you did an
there's
average per
29
head,
restaurants, and again, probably, most of them are the little tiny little, sandwich shops and stuff that don't really generate, that they can't afford to pay more tax. Some of them barely.
Licenses, you mean? Yeah.
Like Dewey Eats. Have you ever seen anybody in there? 3 people a day.
I look at that and say, I'm a landlord, right? So I charge $5,000 for the week, and I brought in how many people? Did anybody brag out the $5,000 bar tab this week? Probably not. So the landlord made a lot of money, right? And they pay a lot less. Although, there's more people in the Starboard, but if I divided that 5,000 and there was 8 people in that house, or 10 people for simple math, that's it comes out somewhat different. So I think that's what I mean. We can slice and dice these numbers, but is it fair? Is the only thing I'm trying to get to is.
Well, that's the point. I mean, revenue per person, I'm not sure that necessarily. I think, in a summer, we clear or gross income is 85,000. Well, and we're part of the ones that are in the residential rental licenses. 85,000 is I mean, that's chump change for any of the major restaurants in town. Chump change. So I just think as we look at how we decide to increase our revenue, we really need to be looking at things that the public will consider as being fair.
Right.
Bottom line.
Right, any fees we charge should be used to cover something, whatever that expense happens to be. That's the fairness anticipate.
Well, I can take a look at that, offline, what you were saying about.
I think, your point though, about, we don't want to do things that will not make people want to come to town.
Right.
And if you look at the way you organize some of this data, 80% of the revenue stream comes from visitors and from home sales and improvements. And it looks like those are the categories, I mean, we can increase revenue somehow in those two categories. That's the biggest hit.
Right.
We're just kind of tinkering at the margin if we start looking at those lower categories. We got to
Yeah.
really focus on the biggest categories of income. I mean, those are the ones, it's 80%.
If we're looking at the future, especially with the police department contract coming up, continued costs going up, if we're looking at trying to generate additional 400,000 to 500,000 of revenue in the next 3 to 4 years, we've got to be looking at accommodation tax, because that's where we're going to get most of it upfront versus nickels here and dimes there.
Right.
And that's just leveling the playing field with the other municipalities around us.
Well, I think if we do that, it also, you do it on a gradual basis, it keeps us from having to do anything else. We can keep a lot of things flat for a while.
And just like we did with the hotels, we started at 1.5 and we went up 0.5% a year until we got to the 3, and then we capped it at the 3. The other thing I think that as you're looking at this, Iris, and as we go to the next iteration, there are some changes that you see in the fee and the revenue history that are direct results of, for example, the transfer tax in fiscal year 18, the property values are half of what they were right now.
Yeah.
So, we know that's going to continue to go up versus just a median of the last 12 or 13 years. If you're looking at the parking, you can see what you had in that chart down there, 17 to 13, we were $2 an hour. Now we're at $3.50, so almost a 75% increase in the, well, I'm just looking at the chart here.
Yeah,
from
yeah,
before, But
that's
I'm
right.
saying that those things, so let's not just look back to 12 years and take that median, because there's some things that are going to continue that we can.
Yeah, that was one of my things that I ran out of time to do, is to try to sit there and put in there where, where the inflections or the deltas were driven by, stuff like that, where we increased fees, but I just didn't get to it. But that's, I think,
I think it helps too, if you're going to do something like increasing accommodations tax, if you can couch it in a way that you're talking about using that additional revenue to do something specific. We did that with the hotel tax, we took half of that, we didn't have a way for paying for capital improvements, and we created a capital improvement fund with that hotel tax, or at least half of the hotel tax. And that's a continuing good use of what the town hall is going to help us with debt service. So it's been a good use of that money. So if we could, any increases we have, we could target that towards specific things, and it makes it more palatable.
Iris, go ahead.
So we're Dewey Beach has I think we've pretty much maxed out developing any area of a 1 mile town by two blocks wide. And I guess, it's, and there's also, so we maxed out number of homeowners or homes, businesses, pretty much. And also there's pretty much a maximum number of people that can come here during the season. I think last time I heard, we increased our population from like 340 to 34,000. At some point, there is a maximum where it's you can't get any higher. And the reason why I talk about the maximums is that given those maximums, there is only so much you can do in raising fees before people are going to say that's way out of hand, whether it's parking or licensing or whatever. But as people come down here and are, we are experiencing a higher rate of folks living permanently here. Those folks, are getting services throughout the year. And if they're not renting their house, they essentially, except for patronizing the restaurants and bars and stores, they're definitely not contributing to the revenue we need. And if you look at it, with frankly, and you see that every town on the Delaware Shore, with the exception of Dewey Beach, has a property tax. Boy, that could really, instead of having to tweak fees and licenses and everything, that could really give us a lot more predictability, and it would not necessarily have to be a high tax per property owner. So, I mean, all these licenses, fees, and dues, they're great, but there's only so much you can do in charging that until you flatline. And maybe that's what these other towns realized when they decided to vote to get a property tax on board.
Yeah, so the charter restricts us there. I mean, when this town was formed, there was people that said that, we don't want to form a town because the next thing you do, you're going to tax me.
Well,
Well, we can
And when
get
you run out of
attacked
money, you'll
by,
tax me more.
But if we're gonna change, if we have to change the town charter for one thing, I mean, there's, like, could we change the town charter to, allow us to have a property tax and a higher accommodation tax? Not necessarily implement it, but be clever about how we modify the charter so that we have ability in the future. And, and that's one side of the one side of the coin. And then when we actually change anything or impose fees, then that's a different issue. But then we're not having to go back and do this again in a few years or whatever, and we can decide how the town evolves. Because what if people say, you know what, Dewey Beach we're not going to bars anymore. The kids are all gonna go, they're gonna go to Bethany or someplace, whatever. They're not, but what if something like that happens though, and that falls off? Well, great, so we've put all our eggs in the accommodations tax bucket, but then we don't have a way to do something else, then we gotta start over with this. So, I don't know, it just makes sense of, how do we do, if we're gonna spend the time and effort and have to go to the state legislature, then can we do something that's,
And I would say if we're going to ask
that gives the
people to
flexibility?
pay a property tax, are we going to eliminate these fees, or is this going to be an incremental money out of people's pockets? We can have it, but are we going to, let's make parking $2 or make it free or
Or
do it
give
something,
you 2
right?
parking passes per house?
no, my thought is this would be in addition to licenses and fees. I mean, there's no reason to bring down any fees just because the actual homeowners of Dewey Beach are paying a property tax for for being there and receiving town services year round.
Right. Yeah, but the people have to say yes to it. Mark, you could talk about school referendums. We want our kids to be educated. School referendums fail all the time. Why? Because you don't want the kid to be educated? No, well, because you're just hitting me up for more money. So we got to come up with something that says, hey, if I'm going to raise something, lower it. And if we need a steady revenue stream, I think that would be palatable to a
And I think
consumer.
you just hit the nail on the head. I agree with John, and I've talked about this for a long time at these meetings. You can't do a budget on a shoestring with the hope and a prayer that we're going to have a good year. We're not going to have a hurricane come and wipe everything out and wipe all our money. Market it as we have to fund our town. And if this is the flat, low fee, like I think I looked at it at $500 a property, not counting how your property is assessed, what your value is worth. That brought in $540,000 years ago. That's a giant chunk of change that basically ran town hall back in 2009.
1809.
I don't know what that number is today.
1809.
I mean, back then they were still developing, there were still open spots, but it was 1,450 properties.
So it'd be 904,000.
So it's something that none of you four, or I assume the fifth commissioner here wants to say, I'd like a property tax and I'm up for reelection. But if you market it the right way and say, look, our town, we're pulling money out of seat cushions, trying to find stuff.
And
We
yet,
had a representative in this area that was very, very pro Dewey. And now we haven't seen that representative since the last election. And we're losing that funding when it came to beautiful streets. I mean, you went out and did grants and funding and all that kind of stuff with the state for that. but I guarantee that person is probably not helping you right now if you were to start tomorrow. So I applaud you for doing what you've done for the town. The town is beautiful right now. Thank you. Thank all of you all for doing that. But as far as funding something, I agree with you guys. I mean, we need to come up with a number that says, here's a baseline where we can do stuff, where we're not going, please do this, tweak this, give me 2% more here, up this by 0.5% for 4 more years. You know, make the gradual paying that I don't feel it. I live here all year round. I agree with John. I don't pay squat to go here. I pay a beach tax. This is the best deal going in Delaware. But I want to pay and
Absolutely.
contribute.
That helps the real estate value. I mean, that helps the real estate value. You don't pay a property tax there after you buy it.
Right? I mean, and then Rehoboth is paying, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000.
Great deal.
When Sandy hit, probably the worst thing that could have happened to our town. I remember I took Mr. Valvo to church every day over in Salisbury. I'd drive, or on Saturdays, take him over there, drive church, come back, walk back, and I'd see a gigantic wall of gentlemen wearing tank top and more gold than Mr. T. And they're talking about how much money they paid in property taxes in Jersey. Their house got beat up. They're waiting for it to get built. And then now here in Dewey Beach, they're paying $2,000 in property tax, $1,500 in property tax. They're paying $22,000, $23,000, $25,000 in their home state. Guess where they're going to come? The same little secret that I'm over here right now.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, so that's, if we're gonna put together a referendum, then I think we need to sort all that out. If people don't like having all the nickel dime fees, okay, well, then we either have nickel dime fees or we gotta have the money come from somewhere.
Right.
So,
I think it's not a black and white issue, respectfully. People are already paying these fees, but what we can say is, hey, look, we have a great town. We have a great town manager, and we have a great town police force and town staff. The only way we can run this town and keep these guys from going to any of the other Delaware shore towns that will offer them a lot more to go, is for all of us to realize that we need a predictable, logical way to have a large amount of income each year for the town. And the only way is I mean, we can tweak these fees and licenses till we, get red in the face, but the only way to have a predictable budget revenue amount that allows us to compete, hold our employees, is to have a property tax.
Well, I have a comment. Irish, you did a fabulous job putting together some numbers. I don't think anybody's ever seen this, so.
Absolutely.
This is good information. I think it was a lot to digest and just think about, so. in
Well,
general.
and that's what I was trying to do, is get it in one place really, because, and think about the issues that people have raised overall. And, where we go from here, I think it just is have a think about it, and then, again, if we have to change the town charter, there's time with that. And so we can't decide, we can't get to a point where we have a crisis and then start scrambling to try to do it. So what's a reasonable?
Right, so we need to have a budget in place by the end of February, right?
Yeah.
To go into effect April 1st.
Mhm.
So we need to have everything settled by then, so that's gotta hit our February 20th, whatever that date is, meeting. So we have,
Well, that's the short-term problem.
that's
The
short-term problem.
long-term problem is what you're
Right,
talking about.
I don't think we'd have time for a referendum in between now and then.
No.
So
No,
this
no,
would
no,
have
I'm
to be
saying-
for-
what I'm
Yeah, nobody's
saying
saying
is,
have it by next time.
what we'll know is, do we have to scramble and do something this year? Or can we say, okay, we're gonna target a referendum for a year, and then it's tied to maybe when we have to do the police, the new police contract anyway, is that a more reasonable time to do it? Town hall will be clearly paid for, no one's gonna say, oh, you're trying to pay for town hall, which we're not. But I mean, again, I think if we think about it that way and lay out a schedule, then we can do it where we're not killing ourselves and risking being able to get it done in a time.
I mean, even your numbers right here, when you look at the shortfalls that we have on the third page, you can see how incrementally they go up. And it's like, where is the crisis point on this 5-year line? I don't know what it is, you don't know what it is, you don't know what it is, but we know there is one.
How many houses are sold? So,
40, I'm betting 40. 700.
and I think it'll be interesting, we have, I don't know when we'll have the workshop with the budget workshop, but whenever we do that, is really talk about the expenditures and where we see those things going. I think it does behoove us to look at where we could cut services and what those implications are. Not that we want to do it, but to say, look, if somebody says we need one less police officer, yeah, we might save this money, but here's the thing. Or people say, look, we just bought you a new computer system or whatever it is. Now, is that getting efficiencies? Is that saving us labor costs somewhere? I don't know. We're going to a new town hall, we got a building. Do we need to buy all new furniture? Can we live with what we have and then upgrade it over time or whatever it is? I mean, I think those are things that it's probably not big drivers, but it's the optics of it, of us trying to, or maybe optics isn't the right word, but just making sure that people think we're not just trying to, build, have a Taj Mahal and we're just gonna spend whatever money we get.
Right,
And we're
that
gonna try to
money,
get $1 million out of stuff and then go.
All of this requires proper marketing.
Well, and I think we can take, somebody with more artistic abilities and more whatever, but we could refine parts of this presentation that then, just go walk around town and talk to anybody who wants to know. This is the reality. This isn't
public
anybody's
document,
opinion. This
everybody
is,
can read
this
this.
is math. Either we want to pay the town employees and have the services that we have, or we want to do something less. But I think we need to add in here the expenditure data and again, massage it, put in what are we paying for all these different people in the other surrounding towns? And what are their benefits and just put, because again, we can say all these things, but if we have it written down, then
so I guess that would be the data we want to look at in our next meeting then?
yeah, when we do,
Expenditures.
because we'll have chief in the meeting, we'll have the department heads in here, and then they can,
And then the third meeting after that, we can say, okay, this is what we know expenditures are gonna look like, and what numbers we want to move over here to cover this.
Can we, how close are we to being able to get a projected figure for where we're gonna end up at the end of the year? I mean, right now, I think we're running somewhere around $1.2 million above what we thought we might be, where we thought we might be. And that may not held up. Obviously, the end of the year, you got a lot less revenue and
Still got 3
continue to have a lot
I
of
thought at
expenditures.
the last meeting, thought it was closer to around 400,000 when we get to the end of the year, because we have no other revenue coming in the variance.
I don't know, but I'd like to see that kind of projection so that we really know, if we're gonna have a substantial surplus, we ought to know, if we think we're gonna have a substantial surplus, we ought to know why that's true, because that may affect decisions that you make for the coming year. So it seems to me that's an important piece of information to have.
So on transfer tax, we're 140 away from it, approximately? From what we
No.
budgeted?
It's,
Obviously you have to make some assumptions. You don't know for sure what transfer tax is gonna look like, but if you know there's some big sales coming.
that big house.
we are only, from making budget on transfer tax based on what has come in, sold in November, we are 15,000 away from making budget for the year.
Okay.
Now, that's with 1 month of only 8,000 in revenue and 1 month of 0.
So typically, what's an average, what's a January, February, and March look like in
That's-
transfer tax?
I don't have that full data right on here. I can't,
Yeah,
but
I
I
mean,
can-
that would be a baseline, not that it's, just because it was that number last year doesn't mean it's gonna be that this year, but January, February, and March are typically high high, home sales.
but there's some other revenue streams that are giving me some pause. So any excess we get in those, it looks like it's gonna even out. So it's not like, even if transfer tax did a 21, 22, I don't think it's gonna be enough to,
It looks like we only have to cover 15 grand, so that's.
right,
I'd bet on that one.
right.
I mean, that's what we need to know. We need to know where we'll be March 31 in terms of all those revenue streams. I mean, you have to make assumptions, but, I think we have to have some kind of information to plan
Yeah.
on.
That's, the final entries for November are gonna be done tomorrow. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, I'm gonna be getting things ready for I'll put the assumptions in, and I was gonna be getting together the, budget amendment to adjust for the grants that we've received and the expenditures that have
Okay.
associated.
When will that budget amendment be like discussed or like finalized?
That's
Mr.
what
Mayor, can we have it on the December agenda?
Of course. I don't see a reason why not.
Okay,
And I think we probably digested enough for today, but before we go, can you remind me, and I want to pass it on to the committee, like what is our timeline now to get the next year's budget done, so we can just,
it has to be, I think it's the second week in March it has to be approved by?
Well, and therefore, by the third, we hope to get it approved by the February
She
meeting.
needs about
Right.
a second, so we can.
So which is the third Friday
Right.
as the final budget.
So in January, this body needs to decide when they want to have the department heads meet so they can be prepared. I'm waiting, the city of Lewis has done a salary survey. And I should, by the end of this week, have that for majority of Sussex County towns.
Fabulous.
And just to clarify, that is our data included in their survey, so we're able to see wherever we are compared to everyone else.
that's great, no, that's
Yep.
perfect.
I don't know. if
Are you
it's
running
a
basically from
compensation
Lewis
dollars.
all the way down to Fenwick? Are you going west at all?
I'm not,
It's
Don't-
Lewis is driving this train.
yeah, she sent out, the HR director sent out a request, Thanksgiving week. And said, for these positions, tell us what the salary is and, how many years they've been in that role. I have been speaking with Lewis and Rehoboth about certain, benefit drivers that they have. And am looking at where we relate to them as far as the insurance coverage, as far as things that count towards overtime. Because of the whole FLSA overtime thing, that is becoming talking point across the board. So I'm trying to gather as much information for the commissioners and the finance committee as possible.
So you're thinking that, and then we do the budget, the next workshop would be like the January 16th?
So our
Commissioners
next
meeting?
council meeting's on the 16th, and what we could promote if it works, is that following the 23rd being a budget workshop, or? No.
I'm only, I can do remotely, but the 16th, I won't.
We're talking.
Well, 16th is still
What
is
am
a
I
council
thinking?
meeting.
Can we do it on the 15th, the day before?
Yeah. Like I'm trying, didn't last year we kind of did it all in one long day, or am I remembering that wrong?
Yes, we did.
And we can make it later in the day if we have to, I guess.
Because I think we did something at like 1 in the afternoon and then we did the,
Let me meet with Ted the
What
town,
do you guys
see
figure?
about their limitations, and then I'll put some dates out there for us to agree upon. Okay.
it's perfect. Yeah, because I want to get it out to the committee too, because I think there's people that want to try to be here in this big person if they can. And
Works for me.
yeah, I know, it's easy for you.
Well, before you wrap it up, I want to say, I appreciate everything you put forward. Like Paul said, this stuff was phenomenal to read, easy to read. I appreciate all of you guys, Sheena, Bill, everybody else that put their time into it, staff, or the council people, thank you guys for being here for it and everything. It made it a whole lot easier for the weekend to read all this stuff and kind of digest it rather than, oh crap, I'm running between airplanes and my job and I gotta go to a hotel and I open up a laptop and I don't have the right internet supplier or whatever. So thank you very much for all the work you put forward to everyone.
Sheena for giving us all that data.
Yeah,
That data was a group effort between front office, police department, and I just threw a few things together. It was others that did the majority of
And I
the.
really appreciate that, and there is, I pulled all this, I have a big spreadsheet of stuff, it's got like 1 million tabs. If you all wanna dig into more of that, I'm happy to have you look at it, and again, some of it, there's stuff that can be updated, there's probably gaps and everything, but again, for this, I was like, if I start looking at the spreadsheet or we're talking about that, we would never have gotten anywhere, so, but there's, you know,
It was just enough.
there's.
no, to see someone say, here's an expenditure line, here's an income line, I mean, basic stuff that we need to do it for a workshop.
Yeah.
And we're not getting into the weeds, like you say, for the budget stuff right now, it was a good workshop, so thank you all of you all very much.
Iris, please share that file. I'd be more than happy to get in there and
Okay,
help summarize some stuff.
no, that'd be great,
Public comment.
yeah, do we have any public comment? I don't,
Any other comments?
no. Last call.
5 o'clock.
All right, so we'll be in touch on the schedule. I'll make sure whatever you need, I just want the finance committee.
Let me know
last
when
year-
you're going on vacation.
That early, I will.
Okay.
Well, one's just Nashville, so I can be on. All right,
Call for adjournment.
Motion to
Yes.
adjourn.
who's gonna second it? We have a
In a
motion to
second.
adjourn.
We
All right,
can't do that.
in favor?
Second.
Motion to start.
Are you in favor of adjourning, sir?
Second,
Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
All right,
There you
Thank
go.
you.
thanks, everybody.
thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.